Hi everybody, and welcome to the topic of adulthood and aging. Through this course we're going to be uncovering a lot of topics regarding the other side of lifespan development. Most areas either cover the full spectrum from cradle to grave or focus specifically on an area of childhood development. This class we're going to be looking at adulthood and aging and how that looks. And some of the challenges and changes that might occur through adulthood. Now, it's hard to say exactly when adulthood begins. We might have a legal definition in some places, in some cultures, that says on your 18th birthday, you are now an adult. But we recognize that that doesn't really mean adulthood has begun. And what we consider to be the beginning of adulthood might vary depending on the time period that we're looking at or in different cultures. So one way that we can think about this is to consider the challenges that adults face. And if you find yourself facing these challenges, then you might consider that adulthood has really begun. And one of the first of these desires is to form a long-term relationship and perhaps start a family. So there's an increased desire to develop a sense of closeness and intimacy with another person, and adults really they must manage new social and financial obligations. These social obligations might be related to work and career, and maybe even financial obligations, and often involve being more independent and maybe even having dependents that you're responsible for. And it could be children. It could also be cared for an aging parent, which would be considered a phase into adulthood. But adulthood is also associated with a number of physiological or physical changes. And one of these is our physical abilities will usually peak in early adulthood and then decline throughout the rest of our lives. And then during this decline, it's really common to see weight gain, and this is often in the form of fat because adults also begin to lose their lean muscles over time. And we also know that their hair begins to thin and gray. And we also see decreases in sensory abilities, specifically with vision, smell, hearing, and all, for all intents and purposes, even taste. We also have cognitive changes that occur during adulthood now. While some semantic memory tends to stay fairly consistent throughout most of the adulthood, we do see a decrease in the ability to access those memories. So it's more common to experiencing blocking, where you have memory but you're not able to really retrieve it, and when you want to, especially. And fluid intelligence also starts to decline through adulthood, and this begins earlier than you might think. It usually begins somewhere around mid-20s. Your fluid memory starts to fade a little bit, and you may start to see a decline in different things such as crystallized intelligence. But in most cases, crystallized intelligence starts to build because we get into habits of forming new connections. But anyway, for all intents and purposes, this is a class that deals with many of these topics. We're going to talk about Alzheimer's disease. One of your first tasks is to think about a bucket list and why we draft those bucket lists. But anyway, this is going to be a great class. I'm looking forward to everybody's input and getting to know each and every one of you and what some of your ideas of what adulthood and aging might look like in your own cultures or your own personal opinions. So anyway, welcome to the class. If you have any questions, please see the syllabus. I also have ways to contact me in the syllabus. Other than that, I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you, and we'll see you in the class.